Tell me who did the Pacific Basin. Tell me who did something that you've never done with your Bronze Star like my son. And I'm proud of your leadership, but guess what? What's happening? We've got Korea and Japan working together. I put a coos together anyway. Things will
be completely detrimental.
Why are they taking out Harris? I don't understand.
Because they haven't wanted her anyway. They went to Biden in the last couple of years to get him to drop.
Okay, but look, putting aside all of this, who do you...
we got to talk about Roland Martin. We got to talk about Megyn Kelly. And we got to talk about the state of the race as it is and why it is that I still say that regardless of all, and I mean all the smoke, Joe Biden's probably still going to be the Democratic nominee. Yes, I'm saying that. Yes, I'm defiant on that. I will die on this hill, but let's get into it.
The Democratic base right now is just entirely lacking for intensity. I mean, when I talk with Democrat elected officials in the battleground states, they tell me the same story over and over and over again. They can't find anybody to come out and volunteer for them to do the sort of work that's necessary in a field operation because there's just no enthusiasm. I mean, we hear all the time about the cliche enthusiasm gap in politics. I've never seen an enthusiasm gap like the one we're witnessing in the summer of this election year. I've heard horror stories from people on the ground in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Arizona about just striking out time and time again as local Democratic Party chapters, county chapters, have tried to get people to come in and phone bank, to get mail going, to knock on doors. They can't do it. They can't find people.
Before we get started, I want to go ahead and just kind of break this video down a little bit. The first half of the video is going to be looking at the media, and it's going to be looking at the Megyn Kelly section. The last half of the video is going to be looking more at the Roland Martin section. Just giving you guys a bit of a heads up. And, of course, you guys obviously saw both in the thumbnail, but, of course, just giving you the heads up before we go any further. Just something I'm kind of experimenting with here on the channel to help out more with the points rather than just coming out and saying it. But let's go ahead and get into it. So, it is a Friday, and we're hearing calls that, once again, Joe Biden is going to step down over the weekend. He's going to resign, or he's going to step aside and let Kamala be the nominee. Especially given what you guys just heard to start this video about Democrats not being enthused. I don't think that that's really the case. I think it's much, much closer to what Van Jones said last night before Trump took the stage and spoke for about 2 hours. Much, much more somber speech. I think he went on as long as he did to try to contrast to people that he can go all night. Now, like I said before, and of course you also had Hulk Hogan speak last night too. This right, of course, was something that people were running their mouth about, especially in the liberal media, whom, by the way, also found a way to cut away during the feed of Gold Star families who were explaining to the American people exactly how Joe Biden treated the memories of their sons and daughters after that day in Afghanistan. 13 dead, 11 Marines, a corpsman, a soldier. Yeah, that brother should go ahead and tell you exactly what this election is really and truly about. It's really about giving the middle finger to the mainstream media. Now, in the second video that will be coming out today, or I may move it tomorrow, depending on how long this video lasts, I'm going to talk about what happens to the left as a whole after what happened this past weekend. And I'll also talk about that guy I've been talking about, the blue-haired dude who, for whatever reason, thought it was a good idea to get married to a woman who was going to allow to cheat on him constantly, and he didn't even bother to get a prenuptial agreement. We'll talk more about him a little bit later on. But we need to talk about the problems with replacing Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I said Kamala Harris and Joe Biden because you got to replace the entire ticket. And yes, I led with Harris first. But I want you guys to pay very, very close attention to what is said here at the very end. But don't just pay so much attention to Van Jones. Pay very, very close attention to the snarky attitude that David Axelrod has after Van says what he says.
Why people are so mad about it.
We are like minutes away from Hulk Hogan, Dana White, and Donald J.
All right, so who do they want to run against? Let's talk about that.
I want to say
so we can have an academic.
You know what? You see something? I want to say something. This spirit that this guy has, you guys think this because he's drunk? He's not. This whole thing is like this. And
he's
listen.
On the
Hey, guys.
tonight.
The last time I was in a convention that felt like this was Obama 2008. There's something happening
You
where.
just wrote a headline, by the way.
What's that?
You just wrote a headline with that comment.
Just like Obama, Trump is showing in this convention he has the capacity to alter the composition of the electorate, that is
the difference between 2008 and now is that Obama was actually popular outside of his own party, and that's not the case.
I don't think we should overstate it.
Somebody is getting snooty because they know they're going to lose. So what is the deal here? Well, given that the current president of the United States is saying crap like this.
So it's all about treating people with dignity. And it's about making sure that, look, I mean, for example, look at the heat I'm getting because I named the Secretary of Defense to a black man. I named Ketanji Brown. I mean, because of the people I've named.
The black guy, the black woman. It seems to me that what's actually happening is that the Democrats have finally realized that Joe can't, run. Oh, wait. They've always known that he could not run the country. Basically, what happened on the night of the debate was two things. Number one, Donald Trump was disciplined the entire night. Of course, they'll tell you it was all lies and crap when really it was just exaggerations, which Trump typically tends to do. I'm a Trump voter, and I know he does this. If you actually look into his past, you'll see a lot of that too. It's just kind of the way he is. But of course, he's one of those guys that's more serious behind closed doors. I mean, you have to be a businessman, to be a real estate developer like himself, to have the friendships that he has. Makes me always wonder why it is that Hollywood flips out anytime Trump talks. Makes me wonder what is it he's got on these people. But still, at the same time, though, it doesn't hide the fact that the mainstream media went out of their way to lie to the American people and try to inform you that Joe Biden was in tip-top shape and could run the nation, when in reality what the hell has really been going on was that when he ran for president in 2020, the medications were working then, and since he's been in office, the medications have been slowly but surely not working. Or this interesting exchange that was recently linked that I came across this morning before I decided to review or do this video, because the video has actually got Roland Martin, of all people, in the thumbnail. Because Roland Martin had a very interesting exchange explaining why it was the Democrats could not just simply replace the ticket, which is something I've been saying. I actually got to give the man credit, and you guys know me, I don't want to go Roland Martin on anything. But I found this exchange very interesting, so I chose to put it in at the last moment, which is one of the main reasons why it is that I may decide to, do the other video tomorrow, because this video is obviously going to be a little bit longer than was expected. But let's listen to some of this.
You don't know what I'm talking about. So on this rambling call, per Puck News, there were moderate, not progressive, congressional Democrats on, and they said it was even worse than the debate. Yes, this is it. Okay. It was less than an hour before the assassination attempt, which is why it didn't make news. One person on the call was even worse than the debate. He was rambling. He would start an answer, then lose his train of thought, then would just say, whatever. We've seen. Anyway, that's his new crutch.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's his new crutch.
Yeah.
I've lost a ton of respect for him. Had the assassination attempt, another one said, not occurred an hour later, I think 50 people on that Zoom were ready to come out publicly against him. And then there was this notable exchange with Representative Jason Crow, Democrat from Colorado, who received a Bronze Star as an Army Ranger fighting for us in Iraq. And here's that exchange. Okay. He writes, or the reporting from Puck is as follows. The Biden campaign did not dispute this next part about Crow and his Bronze Star. In a video of the Zoom that I was able to view, writes the reporter, you can hear Biden chastising Crow, who asked about the importance of national security to voters. First of all, I think you're dead wrong on national security, the president says. You have to imagine it much more slow and slurry.
Actually, Megan, I'm imagining that the conversation is not slow and slowly. I'm imagining the conversation is there's probably a lot more yelling in there, but I'm going to let this next minute or so run out. Then we'll get to Roland and exactly what he had to say on Pierce Morgan, because like I said before, believe it or not, the guy actually is correct. You can't just replace this ticket, and these people are obviously stuck with Joe, but let's go ahead and roll this. I promise you guys, you will bust out laughing. Megyn Kelly does an extremely good job of impersonating Joe Biden.
The emotion at times garbling his words. You saw what happened recently in terms of the meeting we had with NATO. I put NATO together. Name me a foreign leader who thinks I'm not the most effective leader in the world on foreign policy. Tell me who the hell that is. Tell me who put NATO back together. Tell me who enlarged NATO. Tell me who did the Pacific Basin. Tell me who did something that you've never done with your Bronze Star like my son. And I'm proud of your leadership, but guess what? What's happening? We've got Korea and Japan working together. I put a coast together anyway. Anyway, Things are in chaos, and I'm bringing some order to it. And again, find me a world leader who's an ally of ours who doesn't think I'm the most respected person they've ever. Response from Crow: it's not breaking through, Mr. President, to our voters. You ought to talk about it.
The reenactment is the best part. So good.
On national security, nobody's been a better president than I've been. Name me one. Name me one. So I don't want to hear that crap.
Okay, so now go good.
It goes back to my son and all that type of stuff there. You know, Joe still tells everybody that Bo died in Iraq when Bo did not die in Iraq. He died here in the States. By the way, I'm not saying what I'm saying to disrespect Bo Biden. I'm a veteran myself, and Bo Biden does have my respect. His memory does. But he, once again, is going to lead people on to believe that Bo Biden died overseas when, in reality, he died here at home. And, of course, it's also the main reason why it was that Joe eventually backed out and didn't run in 2016. I'm just simply saying, and yes, it's true that Joe Biden has gone through a lot of loss in his life, but you got to understand his mindset here. And I'm kind of being serious here, kind of taking off the Claymore character and just kind of telling you that this right here is a guy whose entire life has been, and there's a lot of lies in his life. Like, for example, what was it? Plagiarizing Neil Kinnock's speech in 1987, lying to people, telling everybody he was at the first of his class when he was actually in the bottom third. There was also this bit where he told people he graduated from Delaware State College or Delaware State University, and one of those schools is actually an all-black college. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Joe is saying this. We could always go back to 1991, Clarence Thomas. We could go back to all the stuff, the Crime Bill 94, all the things that he has said. Still, though, at the same time, though, while being viewed as a joke for the most part, they obviously used him for a reason because he's obviously a pretty easy vessel to extract from. Owned by China, owned by the elites. He himself even said it in the 1970s that he whored himself out to the elites. Why he came to Washington, D.C. I understand the amount of loss that Joe has been through. So Joe probably feels entitled to stay in the race. Still, though, at the exact same time, though, that does not mean he should be president. Like I said before, a lot of people are voting against him to get him out and voting against the Democrats as a whole. And given the fact that the mainstream media and Democrat Party influencers have been lying to their supporters the entire time, obviously there are a lot of angry people. But still, though, at the same time, as Roland Martin will explain here in this tape, which we're about to look at, especially towards the end, there are people who are still stupid enough to vote for this nonsense. However, there's going to be a lot more moderates staying home, especially left-leaning moderates, especially those who voted for Joe as the anti-COVID vote, because that right there is what I call 2020. You can call a lot of other things, but we're on YouTube. The fact of the matter is this right here. There are people who will still vote for this lunacy. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this. So, Roland went on Piers Morgan. You guys know me. I'm no fan of Roland Martin. I think he's doing a lot more to actually hurt his audience. He constantly tells them to stay at home and collect benefit rather than telling them to actually go out there and get a job, to get work. I think the most shameful segment was the one that he did with King Randall. King Randall, a young black man who's teaching other black men in the neighborhood where he's at in Georgia, outside of Atlanta, how to work certain jobs, how to actually be men, stop the feminization of men. And Roland Martin, of course, was not a fan of this. I'll link the full episode in the description box. He basically told King Randall that black men should stay home and feel entitled and just collect things. That sounds like baby mama culture, and that sounds like something that women automatically believe. It goes to the whole feminization of men. And Roland Martin, who, by the way, does look very, very effeminate, we shouldn't be surprised that he has this kind of rhetoric, but I do got to give Roland credit here. Like I said before, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and no, they're not going to be able to just simply replace Joe. Now let's go ahead and get into it.
The Democratic Party, he will lead them for the next 4 years. God bless Joe Biden, and let's get him all the way to that convention stage.
Roland Martin, do you agree with that?
So let me walk you through this here, and that is this here. For the last 20 days, the attacks on Joe Biden have not come from the right. They've actually come from his own party.
Yes.
And so one of the dumbest things in the world. Now, we saw Donald Trump lie constantly in that debate on June 27th. What you did not see was Republicans.
This part's actually true. Pelosi has came out against Joe, or at least the part about Joe getting attacked from his own party. Nancy Pelosi has come out. Chuck Schumer has said she stepped down. Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff is what I call him. He has also said that Joe should step down. Hakeem Jeffries recently said that Joe should step down. You know, the Wish.com version of Obama, the one that they plan on throwing out there in 2028 or they may plan on throwing out here in 2024 if they choose to replace him. Like I said, this video is to kind of further clamp down on why it is they just can't replace him. But obviously, Joe's been getting a lot of attacks more from the inside. Now, this could be designed to set up a comeback kid narrative, which I have talked about before, but it's looking more and more and more unlikely. However, there's something that does need to be said. Go back to the Megyn Kelly segment of this video. Joe's entrenching himself further, okay? He's entrenching himself much, much further. Basically saying, look, you can't take this away from me. I'm going to fight to keep it. And, of course, the word is he's the only person in the room that's actually believing this. Everybody else, including even his wife and son, they've kind of bailed on him here. That's the word that we're getting. But then again, at the same time, though, when your chief advisor is your son, who happens to be a crackhead, that's kind of sort of to be expected. Maybe Joe made the smart decision by not listening to the crackhead anymore. Who the hell knows? But still, at the same time, Joe Biden even listening to himself is obviously an issue. But let's keep going.
The party machine, because the super PAC money can be transferred, right? Do you not think? Do you not think the machinery could get behind another candidate?
No, super PAC. Remember, super PACs are not supposed to coordinate with campaigns, even though we know they do. So they can't do that. So you have to have a campaign apparatus. So the Democrats' greater problem is they're killing their own plan A. Listen, when Disney was getting the board of Disney didn't go, hey, let's get rid of Bob and don't have a plan B. Get Iger already lined up. You cannot move on plan A unless a plan B in place.
All right, but so Roland, plan A, plan B, whatever. Who do you want to be the Democrat nominee to come up against Trump?
If you persuade Biden to step aside, the only logical person from a money and infrastructure standpoint.
No, I hear you.
Is the vice
but who do you want who do you want the nominee to be?
No, I'm not. See, again, I don't deal
I let
in
that
this.
one run for about 1 minute and 4 seconds. The next segment's going to be right around 40 seconds long. And, of course, they're going to be bringing up Disney and not aborting Plan A, Plan E. But the point is this right here. They can't just bypass Kamala Harris. And I talked about this in a previous video. You see, the way the campaign apparatus, the way the campaign laws work is this here. If you've been donating to Joe Biden, you've been donating to a super PAC. Well, super PAC's a little bit different, but if you've been donating to Joe Biden this entire time, or if you have become a delegate of his, you can't just up and just shift over to the next candidate. There are laws in place, and there's somebody else said there's ways to bypass this, but once again, though, it's going to look pretty damn shady, pretty damn sneaky, and you already look shady as hell as it is. And, of course, there are people who put trust in the mainstream media to tell you that the current president of the United States is up to the job when people obviously saw that he was not. Like I said before, the medications just aren't working anymore, and people like myself have been saying that Joe has been messed up for a long time, and we also called this. But at the same time, though, I also predicted that they would not be able to replace him, and I stand by that prediction. Yes, I'm standing by that prediction, and I'll tell you guys why more so at the end of the video, why I think it will end up happening. I'm here to double down. This is just more proof of it in my eyes. The point is this right here. You can't just up and bypass Kamala Harris, okay? If you do this, you run into problems. Number one, you anger a lot of black voters, especially black women, which is kind of sort of the party's biggest voting base. They may say, screw you and stay home. Screw it, put Trump back in there. We were better off. They'll finally admit the truth. And they'll say, he's only going to be there for 4 years. And, of course, they've got people say he'll never leave office when, obviously, he's said it. I'm just going to do this term and leave. I kind of tend to believe him because not only because of what he said, but because that's actually the law, unless Congress decides to keep him in forever and they create an amendment and they undo the two-term amendment. But still, at the same time, though, the point is this right here. You can't just up and bypass Kamala Harris, do the actual campaign finance laws, and not to mention campaign laws and election law itself. If Joe Biden was to step down, now if he was to resign and Kamala become president, say, look, I don't want to run, then you could actually replace, but then what happens to all the money that's been donated to the Biden-Harris campaign? You're not going to be able to access those funds. I don't know if they get refunded or not, but they don't just carry over the next candidate. But we'll talk a little bit more after this next segment because I didn't want this video to be too long, but obviously it's going to be a little bit longer than I expected it to be.
Still in this Disney-fied world. I deal in reality. The only person from a money standpoint and an infrastructure
I get you. So would you rather it be okay? So would you personally rather it be Joe Biden or Kamala Harris?
Biden has to decide. See,
well, what do you think?
If Biden, listen,
What do you
Biden's made
think,
it clear.
Roland?
Hey, Piers, Biden has made it clear he's running. Unless Obama goes to him and says, "Hey, Joe."
No, I understand all that, but I'm very curious why somebody who's been any human beings I've ever known in my life, and which is a good thing. But why can't you just answer a straight question? Which one would you? Which one do you prefer?
Piers, I've been making the phone calls. I'm looking at the reality of this.
I know,
this is not.
Would you rather it be Biden or Harris? Who do you think has a better chance of winning?
I'm telling you right now. You missed what I just told you. Listen to me clearly, Piers. If they move Biden, they're taking out Harris. And that.
Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and telegraph this now because this segment was at the hour and 5 minute segment of an hour and 11 minute, hour and 12 minute long segment. So if you guys want to see the full episode, you guys can. But of course, Roland is going to tell you he can't really name who they want to replace. I think there's a reason for that, which we'll get to here in a second. But I want to go ahead and say this. The biggest problem that you have is, like I said before, you can't just transfer those funds over. This kind of goes back to something that Joe Biden said during his big boy press conference. He said that you can't just start a campaign from scratch or it's extremely hard to do so. I'll talk more about that on the other end, but basically what Joe Biden was telling you was good luck trying to beat Trump and good luck trying to set up a national campaign after I resign or after you replace me. But let's keep watching.
You personally, Roland Martin, who would you like to see take on Trump with the best chance of winning? Just give me a name.
The best chance you actually have of winning right now is Biden, Harris, because of money and infrastructure.
All right, fair enough. I got there in the end. All right.
The entire party into complete disarray.
But I can tell you, you're already in complete disarray, and Joe Biden cannot. Joe Biden cannot beat Donald Trump. And actually, what happened last weekend, all that did was cement that. There's no chance.
There was no massive.
The Democratic Party
Biden has to decide, and only if Obama goes to him. Okay, look. Apparently, Obama has been to him multiple times. Many people think that Obama is running the country. I personally think it's really more the Obama-ites who are running the country, people from his previous administration. I think they're the ones who are mainly running the nation. And not to mention, there was also this very interesting report that came out that Hillary Clinton, of all people, were saying or telling donors to privately or telling them to stick with Biden. There's like $90 million in campaign funds that are being held up because they're trying to hold up the party. But of course, I actually think it's too late, especially given that Trump is about to get those assets from Truth Social come next month, which is going to absolutely just pollute the airwaves, or it's just going to fill the airwaves with nothing but Trump ads. And trust me, this is kind of the game plan. This type of game plan is all going to work. But the point is this right here. We found out back in that book, Lucky, and I advise you guys to go check it out, that Obama did not have the influence that people think he thought he had. As a matter of fact, he went to the donors and tried to get them to back Elizabeth Warren. The donors said, screw that crap. I'm not putting that fake Indian out there. I'm not putting that communist out there who wants to take away our money. They said no to that. So they said, what about Biden? Obama didn't want to endorse Biden. As a matter of fact, he didn't actually endorse him until the Democratic National Convention. The truth be told is Biden was the guy that they had out of convenience to stop Bernie Sanders from destroying their party as a whole, which is interesting because coincidentally, it looks like Biden may be destroying the party as a whole. But let's watch this last segment.
You have Dem power brokers who've been trying to get Kamala Harris off the ticket for 3 years. They don't want her to leave the ticket. So the 2028 battle is happening right now. Here's the problem, though. If you pick anyone other, if you take Biden off, you pick anybody other than Harris, you can't transfer the money. You can't transfer the 1,000 campaign workers. You can't transfer the 100 field offices. How do you build a national campaign on the fly in a matter of weeks?
That last part that Roland says is what I'm going to go with first. Biden, believe it or not, is actually their best chance of winning. He's the only one who polls well against Trump. Now, I told you guys before, I don't really put much stock in polls, but they do shape public opinion. And right now, the public opinion is that Joe Biden stands no chance. It's very possible they could be creating this comeback kid narrative to get him over the top so that way he just breaks through, but I don't see it happening. That may have been the plan, and that plan might have actually worked, but then your political opposition survives an assassination attempt. That's a lot of votes to try to, it's just probably not going to happen. Still, though, he stands up best against Trump than anybody else. I mean, that just goes to show you how weak the bench is. Gavin Newsom, I've talked about this before. If you put Gavin Newsom out there, I would relish the idea of running against Gavin Newsom. California is a crap hole. Everybody knows it, and the country's been conditioned to dislike California for years, ever since the 90s. Not to mention people who have Californians, and I'm not saying this to demean Californians, because a lot of the ones who are leaving are conservative. They go to these places, and the next thing you know, if you live in Florida, chances are your rent probably went up because of them. The homeless crisis, all that crap. Gavin Newsom stands no chance at all. And not to mention the fact, if he was to magically be put up there, and let's just say he did get elected, he would be getting elected not with a liberal Congress or Senate. The truth be told is the real reason why it is you might would want to replace Biden, if possible, is to protect the Senate, which the Democrats have got roughly 9 to 12 Senate seats that they got to put money into to defend. And even though they're up in those polls now, as the race gets closer and closer and closer to Election Day, momentum begins to set in, and it becomes more and more likely that Donald Trump, not only will he win, but he'll probably add anywhere between 20 to 40 congressional seats, and also at the exact same time probably add a boatload of Senate seats to go along with it, meaning he actually has an opportunity this time around to get his mandate through. And about them not wanting her, this is true. She was a diversity hire, okay? That's all she was. Look, what happened was this here, and I have to go back to 2019. I have to go back to being at my cousin's house, who was a Bernie bro, and telling him he's not a Bernie bro so much anymore. But still, after talking to him, and he's like, well, they're not going to get anything. This is Bernie Sanders. I'm like, dude, the nominee of the Democratic Party, the only one who has a legitimate chance of beating Trump is Joe Biden because of his connection to Obama. And chances are he'll probably take a woman as his VP. My thinking is they're going to force him to take a black woman, who is Kamala Harris. This right here is before it became common knowledge that she wasn't even really black, that she was actually just half Jamaican, half Indian. This became a reality, however, once the BLM riots occurred. They bullied Joe Biden into taking her. It is the black section of the base that is bullying Joe Biden to stay in, or they're saying, look, if Joe is to step down, we're not supporting anybody except a black woman, so it's got to be Kamala Harris. Especially given the fact that the plan for Michelle Obama has seemed to have shifted to 2028. And I don't think that Barack is willing to waste her right now, especially given that some recent polling came out that contradicted the Reuters poll showing Trump actually ahead of her, which is something that I said. She's not Barack, okay? She doesn't have that twinkle. She doesn't have that, quote unquote, the thing that gives people a thrill up their leg, like Chris Matthews said. She stands no chance. She's not eloquent. She's not even liked. As a matter of fact, if you want to get Gen Z voters to vote for Trump to keep her out, all you got to do is just think about the school lunches. Just think about that. All right? The point is this right here. They are stuck with Joe. Now, I do believe that there will be a coup at the DNC, and I believe it will lead to absolute chaos. But at the end of the day, it's either going to be Joe or the Hope. Just simply saying. But you guys tell me what you think. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. Please sign off in the comment section. I'm going to try to get that second video out today, but I didn't want to make 2 long videos in one day, so it may not be coming out till tomorrow. Either way, though, guys, still please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.